Tell us about how those at the very bottom of the pyramid, those who are considered the lowest castes of society, have used entrepreneurship to fight the odds against them economically, socially, and politically.
Large number of companies and firms not only are owned by lower caste people, but also have employees who come from lower caste. There's been a wonderful path-breaking research in this, which shows in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, which is a North Indian state, and a very large state at that, 2 parts of Uttar Pradesh, on how economics changes caste, right? So one of the biggest parts of caste discrimination is if I'm lower caste, which is a birth-based, sort of discrimination. It has nothing to do with anything else. If you're born lower caste, you're lower caste, right? 2 things changes. If I'm lower caste, traditionally one of the worst kind of discrimination is, and if you're upper caste, you wouldn't accept food from my hand or water from my hand. Anything that I touch, you will not touch, right? That's one of the biggest problems. This research showed that after 20 years of economic liberalization, one of the biggest things that began to happen is that barrier broke down. More and more quote-unquote upper caste people would readily accept food and drink from the hands of somebody lower caste. In fact, somebody tells me this wonderful story in the book, and I want to repeat that. Pizza delivery ka koi jaat nahi hota, which means pizza delivery has no caste, right? What do they mean by that? Think about this, right? Let me paint a scenario for you. Say I'm a poor lower caste boy from an Indian village, and I've always seen discrimination. For maybe 1,000 years, I've only seen discrimination, right? Then one day the economy booms, right? I don't know a world outside my district or my village, but suddenly I have an opportunity to come to the city, I have an opportunity to make a different life, right? I go to some schools and I pick up a little bit of English and so on and so forth, and one of the jobs that I get is that of a pizza delivery person, right? And like millions of young people around the world, one of my first jobs is delivering pizza. So in this new economy of India, in a city, this village lower caste boy takes pizza, goes up to a home, and the doorbell rings and somebody opens without even thinking for a microsecond or even asking him what his caste is, what his name is, anything. They pay the money and take food from their hand. And in that moment, the dreams of Adam Smith and Ambedkar come together. You know what I mean? The great social reformer B.R. Ambedkar in India, and of course Adam Smith's wonderful invisible hand of the markets, right? They come together in a magical way, but think about it, in the head of that boy, magic happens. I don't think any of us can ever understand what happens in that mind. It's impossible for you and me to understand what happens in that mind. Because that boy has never seen ever that somebody can unthinkingly take food and drink from his hand. For 1,000 years, nobody has ever thought of that in his family. And in a magical moment, it's true. So that is the power of economics. And that's the Indian dream. So what is writing a book in English and publishing it in the Western world for me is for that poor boy or that village boy, the idea of somebody accepting food from their hand. You have to be in India and understand India to really understand this. It's all very well to sit in Paris and London and New York and write pontificating, condescending editorials about India. But there is magic of economics happening in India. And I don't think people understand that. And, people like me are trying our best to sort of explain that. So, you asked me what happens in this low caste. That's what happens. It breaks all barriers.